As you travel through the furthest reaches of the galaxy, you pick up a distant transmission. Signal received. Decrypting message.
Welcome to STARCHIVES, presented by Starforce Collective, a crew of spacefaring illustrators on a mission to record nerdy shit for the hope of future generations.
Hello, welcome to episode 2 of STARCHIVE, your cosmic library of everything geeky and nerdy. I am your commander, Alex Rodway. Changed it from captain. I didn't like captain, so now I'm commander. On my right is a very special man. Introduce yourself, special man.
Hi, my name is Hanat Taj. I'm an illustrator working in Toronto, the founder for the Starforce Collective, and we have another guest here with us today.
Yep, she's a very special lady. My sister-in-law, actually. She's worked on multiple comics in the past couple of years. She's an Instagram princess, just hit her 25 or 20K, I think. She's worked on Finding Molly, the Oath comic Princess Cappuccino. Please welcome Jen Sainage.
Hello.
Hi, Jen. Thank you for coming on the show for our very special anniversary second episode. It's not an anniversary.
I was gonna say, it took a whole year.
Yeah. No, it has not been a year since the last recording. Otherwise, we'd be seeing another Star Wars movie.
I wish.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
we'll have lots to talk about.
We'll
that
talk
when
about
that comes
that later.
Exactly.
We'll talk about Star Wars later.
Yeah. So we wanted to bring Jen on the show because, I mean, Hunan and I are both illustrators. Jen is very much an illustrator as well. Probably more successful than we are at the moment.
Ouch.
Well,
Wounded.
sorry, I'm talking more about myself,
Ah.
but that's fine. I know we've both worked on comics before. Hunad and I have. Jen is definitely taking leaps and strides in the realm of more female-fronted comics, which is great. Tell us more about that, Jen. Like, how's the experience been being like a woman breaking into this industry?
For me, I feel like basically talking about any of kind of getting into the work that I have it's been a lot of being in the right place or reading the right job posting at the right time.
Okay.
So, I mean, I feel like my work is definitely has like a very kind of feminine edge to it. I don't think somebody would see my portfolio and be like, oh, she was a girl. And be like surprised. Like, I'm pretty sure like they know right away. They're like, this is probably a lady.
Okay.
Around these ladies.
Cool.
So going in with that up front, I guess I've just been the right fit for a lot of the projects that I was submitting to. And I mean, I've also been looking for like a lot of the anthologies and stuff that I submit to. They are with a focus on, like Oath was a focus on queer contributors. So that was kind of like a little niche thing that I was able to participate in.
And hopefully won't be niche for much longer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're seeing a lot of leaps and bounds with, the new Captain Marvel. She's, I believe she's, what is she, Pakistani?
That's Ms. Marvel.
Oh,
Ms.
yeah.
Marvel? Sorry, got my names wrong. But yeah, I actually just saw today that she's going to be in an animated series voiced by a Bollywood actress. So that's pretty fucking cool.
Representation.
Yeah, Hunad's happy.
It's, well, it's that Bollywood is India. Oh, it's just Pakistani.
Yes. In any case, as a white guy, I have a lot of superheroes that, fit in my wheelhouse of racial stereotypes.
Identifying.
So it's nice to see a little diversity happening. We could definitely use more, but I think artists like Jen are definitely getting us put in the right direction with this type of variety of character. Now tell us about Finding Molly. That's your latest comic that you're working on. How many issues are out right now?
The first issue came out in November. The second one is supposed to come out, I believe the date is March 9th is when the second one's supposed to come out, and I'm working on the third, the inks for the third right now. It's going to be a 5-issue arc altogether. Okay. And I think that Emmett Entertainment, which is a publisher that I'm working with, they're wanting to release it as like a trade, hopefully in the summer.
Ooh, summer of 2016?
Yeah.
Ooh,
So we'll see.
Got your work cut out
Yeah,
for you
really.
then.
So, for the time being, where could we find the current available issues of Finding Molly?
Yeah, it is a publisher. It is based out of Los Angeles, so they are an American company. So if you're up in Canada, like we are, there's not a ton of distributors for it up here, but you can go onto their website. They offer it as a PDF to read if you want to read it as a digital copy, or you can order it and get a hard copy.
Cool. And we'll put directions to where you can get it online.
Yeah,
and
links
the
will be
comments.
in the description, so don't worry about that. You can purchase Jen's amazing comic from those links. I actually have the first issue in my collection. I think my wife bought it from you, and or you gifted it to us. perks of being related to the artist. Pretty good.
You have to buy the second one.
So, for those of us who don't know, obviously I've read the first issue. Is the second issue out?
March 9th.
March
so
9th.
not
Okay,
yet.
so not yet.
Soon though.
What's it about? Give us a little synopsis.
Alex
Just
was
a
like,
little
I
taste.
read it, but what was it about? It was a very deep story. I feel like I didn't really get all.
I didn't get it. No, I got it.
Yeah, it's a slice of life kind of comic. It's basically about a girl, 23-year-old woman who is a fairly recent grad from a fine arts program, and this might be a surprise to all people in art programs, but she doesn't have work right out of school, and she doesn't really know what she wants to do with her art degree. So it kind of falls into her lap that she ends up kind of house sitting for a eccentric couple with a cat. And so she starts house sitting and doing pet portraits and kind of the hijinks that occur when she does that.
So a lot of this might be a little bit inspired by your own life, perhaps. Now, that being said, you're the illustrator for it. Someone else is writing it, right?
Yeah, I'm working with a writer and a colorist.
Did you have any input into the story, or was it just by chance that it was about a recently graduated female artist who happened to be involved with cats in some way?
Yeah, I feel like when I had originally replied to the job posting for because basically I'm at Entertainments had put a post on Tumblr being like, we're looking for lady artists who want to do comics. And I'm like, I'm a lady artist. I'll submit. That's basically how it went.
Fulfills all checkboxes. Check.
I had seriously no comic stuff in my portfolio at that point.
Right.
So, looking back, they really took a chance on me. But so they had looked at my work, and I had done that show at Steam Whistle. That was my Cat People series.
Yes, I remember that. Okay.
And so I had actually been thinking of taking it out of my portfolio at that point in time. And I guess it was good that I didn't, because my now editor had looked at it and she's like, I just love all your drawings. This is my voice for it, apparently. I just love all your drawings of cats. She's like, I'd love to do a comic where you just draw people's animals. And I'm like, okay, I guess, yeah. Because at that point, I didn't have a lot of pet experience either. So I was totally I can't draw comics or pets. Sure, I'll do this.
Well, that was very much the experience I had when Hunad and I have worked with the same writer before, a guy named Kevin Ulig. Shout out, Kevin. How's it
Hi,
going, man?
Kevin.
I thought you said, shut up, Kevin.
Shut up, Kevin. No, Kevin's great.
Kevin's a good guy.
Kevin's a really good guy. He runs his own publication company called Rally Point Publishing, and he's a really big Civil War nut. And
This is the American Civil War.
yes, not Marvel's Civil War.
Oh.
I always have to specify that when I tell people I'm working on a comic, and they're
Shows
like,
you
"What's it about?"
Mark of the times that you have to specify.
Yeah, they're like, "What's it about?" And I'm
American
like,
Civil
"It's
War.
about the Civil War," and they're like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "No, not that Civil War.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
don't
one
think he has a
from the-
copyright.
The OG Civil War.
Yeah,
with
the-
good old Abe.
The 1800s. Okay.
Also, is that a Canadian company or is it?
Yep.
Relation?
He's I think he lives in Oakville.
Yeah, it's based out of Oakville. He's a technical writer, but he's been wanting to do this story for quite some time.
Very much a passion project for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really interesting in the way that it's not alternate history. He does a lot of research into making every aspect of the story as
Historical,
accurate to
yeah.
the actual events.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, when I read it, it seemed like And I mean, maybe that'll change as you get further into it, but it's not about okay, I obviously don't know anything about the American Civil War, so it's not like about General so-and-so and
No.
being so like super meticulously researched. It's more about like the everyman who's
Yeah.
there.
So far,
So-
all of the characters have been fictional.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a couple characters who have bothered to have last names, but mostly it's just on like a first name
Yeah.
basis, right? Or
They're
whether
all
they have
henchmen.
names at all. Yeah, I've done one called the Teamster. You can find it at Comixology. I think it's like it's like $1.99 or something for a digital download.
Comixology is super cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
It should be actually. I think it's $3.99.
Is it?
on there,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I haven't checked in a while, but so you can check out the Teamster. It's about an escaped slave who finds his way from the south into the northern part of the U.S. and his adventures from there. And right now, I'm working on another issue called The Deserter, which is pretty interesting. It's been a nice experience because I hadn't had a whole lot of time drawing comics before that. I did a little bit of dabbling into it in my last year
I was
of
gonna
college.
say you did some of it in school as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. It felt more like a storyboard back then.
Yeah.
For like a movie, it wasn't too much variation in panel
Well,
size.
the biggest thing, honestly, with getting into comics, and I'm sure, because was this your first comic job as well, working on with Kevin?
As a job, yeah. So I did the first issue, which is The Wounded.
Mhm.
But I'd done my thesis project.
You can find that on Comixology as well.
Yeah, they'll be released on there as well.
Yeah.
But before that, I did my thesis project at Sheridan when I graduated was a very ambitious
Oh no.
comic.
Okay.
You're telling me it was ambitious, dude. I remember you working on that, and did you even sleep that year?
No.
To be fair, I probably slept as much as I sleep now, which is maybe like 4 hours a night.
Okay,
if I'm
so
lucky.
there you go.
That's not good.
You know what? You get used to it. And, one of my professors said that essentially at that point in his life, that's how much he slept. So I'm
Is it
just
Tom?
going.
Or
No,
was-
it was Joe,
It
actually.
was Joe?
Yeah,
Okay.
Joe. Wait, I think he still sleeps that much, though, to be honest.
That's not good.
Joe's kind of crazy though. Shout out to Joe Morris if you're listening. Hey Joe.
I don't know. I'd also like to, at this point, say that for any young, hopeful comic artist, you're allowed to sleep more than 4 hours a night. That's not like a requirement.
No, you're not.
I think
Because that's something that I honestly see
4
with a
hours
lot
or
of
go
people. Because I recently started going back and being like really active on Twitter
Yep.
because I stopped going on Tumblr.
Yes.
That's a whole other story. And it's really nice because I've actually been able to network with a lot of other people who are kind of in the same level as me, working right now. So, it's nice because you're talking to people who are in a similar field, but at the same time, it can be hard because you're like, oh, they're doing so much more work, they're doing this so much faster than me, like, how are they doing this? But even though it might be easier for some people, it's really easy to get burned out.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, like, when I was working back around, like, Christmas, and I took on $1,500 worth of commissions, and I was still working on the comic, man, you think that you can juggle everything, but there's only so many hours in a day, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't feel bad for only being able to do so much in a day.
No, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, this is your craft that you're working on. This is supposed to be something that you love to do, right? And I mean, just speaking from experience from school and also trying to take on too many projects at once, when you burn yourself out, you're not helping anybody.
Well, because it's going to affect what you're producing as well.
Well, exactly. Like, I mean, even just last night, I was working on some pages for Kevin, and it was getting. I mean, I work nights right now, so I do what I can on the weekends. So it was getting to be about 5:30 in the morning, 6 a.m.
Yeah,
and I
when
was
you
like-
see the sun starting to come up, you're like,
I'm like, okay,
that's not good.
I think it might be time for bed, because I could feel myself being like, I don't want to do this anymore. Drawing sucks. I hate it. And when you get in that headspace, you just need to stop and come back to it later, and
Well,
you'll love it again.
I also know a lot of people who are like, like we're like 25. That's not really, that's not that old.
25.
I don't know how old are you.
Hunad's not 25.
Yeah, I'm not 25.
Oh,
I'm a little bit older,
Okay, he's
but not by much.
I feel betrayed right now.
Hunad's like
Old man.
42.
Oh my god, Hunad.
42. This is the baby face that gives it. I don't look that old.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been
needless-
around for many centuries.
Needless to say.
Hunad's a Twilight vampire. That's why he
Oh god.
sparkles.
Oh. I thought you were just really like moist with sweat all the time.
Oh. That is a problem amongst my people. They do expire very quickly.
You're like, we're not the hot sparkly vampires, we're the really sweaty
We're
vampires.
just the sweaty, burn up in the sun vampires.
Oh my god.
Just turn into a mess.
Okay, we're
I actually had like a serious.
Wait, what? Oh,
I actually had like a serious.
okay,
premise.
yeah, we're getting off the rails. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, okay, so a lot of the artists that I like talk to are like, let's say like under 30 or like under 35.
Yep.
I'm in the right ballpark now. No.
Thank you.
Okay. And it's like I know a lot of people who have actually really bad like they're already developing nerve damage in like their wrists and stuff like that
Oh,
because
geez.
they're putting in so many hours, and it's like carpal tunnel but next level carpal tunnel.
Right.
And it sucks because again going back to that whole burned out thing is like, you know, you might be like, I want to take on 10 projects right now because I have 10 projects knocking at my door.
Yeah.
But like then you're gonna be like 10 years of working. And you might actually have physical damage that you can't work anymore. Like,
Yep. Yep. So it goes to show, like take it from us. We're the experts here. This is our show, damn it. We can say what we want. But really do take it to heart that working is great. Being able to do lots of projects is also great. Being known as a prolific illustrator is fantastic. But you really need to be careful, and I mean, this is what my dad has always told me.
Yeah.
You just need to find balance in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't be working 100% of the time. You need to have time where you get sleep, Hunad.
I get sleep.
You get 4 hours a night. That's not enough.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things.
when you're
right?
like a sweaty vampire, you only need
Okay.
rest.
Exactly.
There you
know,
go.
just-
All right.
You just don't need anything else beyond that for us. Well, I work in Toronto for a stereo conversion company during the day. So
Yeah.
maybe 12 to 14 hours of my actual day from waking up to going to sleep is being at that job.
And commuting and stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's all sort of wrapped up into it. So
Yeah.
the time that I actually get to work on illustration work is limited. So that's where it's either pay my bills,
Yeah.
develop my portfolio and keep working on illustration stuff,
Yeah.
or go to work and sleep. And from what I've been told, I'm not the happiest person at my day job.
Not the happiest camper.
No,
I
and
can imagine why.
it's an all right job. The people there are fine, but I've been there for a bit over a year now, and I don't see a lot of movement in terms
Yeah.
of growth.
Right.
So I'm trying to evacuate within the next little while, and that's sort of been my plan for since the new year started to just wrap up there and move on. So that's why I don't see that extra bit of work now as being a problem.
Right. Okay.
Well,
and
I mean,
it varies depending on who you are.
Yeah, and it works for me. Like, I can manage on 4 hours of sleep for a couple of weeks, but then I'll have a weekend where I sleep
You
for
just need to-
36 hours
Oh, gosh.
You
straight.
do need to crash, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Jen?
oh no, you have to be your own judge. I just know that, like, for me, I'm not always my best judge.
Yeah, and this is also a case of, you kind of have to experiment with what you're able to do. Some people, like Jen, they work really fast. It's something that I'm very envious of her, actually. Like my style, and still hate the
Well, at
word
least
style,
it's not
but
6 months for drawing anymore.
depends. It depends. If it's a big painting, then it can take that long. But again, it's time management and stuff. But I know it personally for me. I like to try to update at least once a day or once every couple of days on Instagram just to keep my social presence active. And that's not always possible with final pieces because my work takes quite a while to finish to the point where I'm happy with it. In some cases, anyway. But for those of you kind of starting out or haven't had a whole lot of experience with it, post work in progress. Work in progress shots are great.
I really like
People are actually sometimes more interested in that than the final product. simply because they like to see how you do things. I mean, you look at YouTube, there are tutorials everywhere for how
Everyone
to do
thinks
stuff.
that there's a magic answer of how
Yes.
you make your art.
And-
Like, I think I should really just, like, at the top of my Instagram page, be like, line work done in Manga Studio 5. Because,
Yeah,
like,
that's your-
every time I
that's
post a
your
work in
most,
progress, it's like somebody... I've had people ask me, like, more than one person ask me on, like, a post. And it's like, I'll have answered the first person, and then somebody else asks, and I'm like...
At that point, you just stop answering, I think.
Well, you create like a FAQ and you just link them to that.
I should,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm supposed to be doing, like, a commission FAQ video.
Which we will be posting on this channel. Because Jen and I both have, YouTube channels. Yeah,
On YouTube.
we're on YouTube. And where we posted a few videos of time-lapse
Like,
drawings done using capture software.
Well, and it's just unfortunate because, like, I do want to do more stuff like that. It's
Yes.
just like it takes a really long time to make videos.
It's true. And
you think it's like a 10-minute video. It's not even that long, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
by the time you edit it, I've spent hours editing those, and it's so dumb because I'm like at the end, I'm not even like I don't feel like it's like a gold star effort. I'm just like I'm done. This is good enough. Upload.
yeah.
And then
lot of
YouTube
people
is
do-
like it won't upload.
A lot of people
So-
end up just doing like what they record. They'll just put up. They'll put an audio track at the end of it, maybe like a little header,
Yep.
Yeah.
a footer at the end of the video, and that's
Well, and that's
it.
basically all it is, but it's
Right.
like I have like so little like experience using like editing software or anything
Right.
like that, or recording.
You know
so
where you can find out how to do
YouTube.
YouTube.
Well, that's the
I
other
know.
reason why we sort of came together to do the Starforce
Yeah.
sort of collective.
Yep.
Well, it's easier if you have more people contributing, right? It's easier to remain active because I know
Exactly.
like I posted like maybe like 4 or 5 videos within like a couple of months of each other,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then like
yeah.
nothing since. It's been
Yeah.
like months.
Well, and that was me as well. Like, I'm gonna be posting more stuff before Fan Expo 2016. But basically, right up until Fan Expo of last year, I was posting stuff pretty regularly
Mm-hmm. yeah.
because I was producing
Yeah.
very regularly. But now, I don't have as much time to do that, right?
It's the off season.
And the other thing is, like, all of the digital work that I'm doing is for Kevin, and I can't post that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
stuff yet because
Well, it's an NDA, or-
I'm under contract not to disclose it. Like, I can post a couple process shots
Mm-hmm.
of individual panels and whatnot, but anything more than that breaches the contract, so it's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah, and well, that's the other thing when you start doing more like commercial work.
Yep.
Because I mean, I feel like probably for the first like half of last year, I was able to be super active on Instagram and stuff like that, just posting work in progress and like smaller drawings.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful for me, just getting traction there.
Yes.
But now that I'm working on the comic jobs and I'm working on a lot more commercial stuff, it's like I can't really share a lot of it. So it's like, I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably see like me posting my like Finding Molly updates.
Yeah,
But they're
which
like
you
so
should.
small.
You can find her at Princess Gem 4.
It's princess_gem JEM4.
Yeah. You can find me at Lord
Lord
_Lexon.
Lexon. Like,
And
goddamn nerd.
yeah, whatever.
Am I allowed to say the F word?
Yes.
I'm like a fucking nerd.
Like a fucking nerd. And Hunad, you're at
It's at Illustratorium. I'll put a link. I'm not gonna
Oh
bother
yeah.
spelling it.
Whenever
It's
I
long.
see like a comment from you, I'm like, who's this guy? I'm like, oh, it's Hunad. I'm like, that's nice. He hasn't been here in a while.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the best at updating my social media feeds. I'm trying to on a more regular basis. I have a colleague named Gabe Sapienza who's been whose work has sort of been pushing me to do more because he's already working in the kind of work that I want to be doing.
That's good.
So if you get a chance, we'll put a link to his stuff too. But he does a lot of storyboard and comic based work as well. And his sketchbooks are phenomenal. Like he works straight in ink. And,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and they're very sort of loose and gestural in the way that he works. But you know, it's something that I've been working with as well. So it's
Yeah. Well, I know your like Inktober's were so good. I loved all of them. They were
Yeah,
so-
dude.
Like that's something that you honestly, and I've actually seen quite a few artists who did that, where they made like a little zine out of their,
right.
and like I feel like for yours they would work really well as that.
Yeah.
'Cause some of that
Only I had
actually-
finished.
You didn't finish.
No,
you could
I
lie.
got-
You,
just-
I think you got to day 19 or something,
Oh.
18 or 19.
Yeah,
that's
And
really
then
what
I
I
was
got.
like, I was checking every day because I was looking forward to
Yeah.
the next one, and I was like,
Well, because we were also
There's
doing
no
a lot
more.
of people were doing Inktober / Hella
Drawing.
And so that was like super fun this year. I got further than I usually do, but that was still.
I
like,
got to
only half-
30,
Oh wow!
and you know what? I choked at Dragon.
Seriously?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
That's very
think,
surprising.
You wouldn't think that would do it, but it just got to the point where.
You're like how it's hard coming up with like a creative idea every day for that.
And well, it got to the point where it was Halloween Day,
Oh yeah.
or Halloween night, whatever you want to say.
Hallows Eve.
And you know, we were gonna have that party,
Oh yeah.
and I was in party mode. I was like, no, I don't want to draw
Could
right
have
now.
just drawn like a little party trick.
Little party draw. I should have done that. But
It's
anyway,
too late now, Alex.
next year I will get to. I will get to 31.
I've definitely. I know when I was younger, I used to always be like, I'm gonna do this meme 30-day challenge.
Yeah, you get to number 5.
And I don't.
Like,
I don't lie to
done.
myself anymore.
So done.
So to be fair, in order to even get that far, I did a lot of them in one sitting. So I planned ahead.
Anyway.
You
could cheat again or not.
It's how it just had to be the way because my day job we were on insane amounts of overtime for.
Well, and I think the point of those challenges is that it's like they're supposed to be quick drawings. Like hypothetically, you could use that as your warm up prompt.
Yeah,
But-
I definitely had some that spiraled out of control. I think Amulet was the one that kind of screwed me for a while.
Oh my god, that
Because-
was the one I put way too much time into.
Yeah, you as
With,
well.
I'd made like an animation for it, like fuck off.
Yeah, there
God
was like
damn
a,
it.
there was like
It
a
was
kid.
2:00 in the morning, and I had a dentist appointment at 8 the next day. I was like, "This is such a bad idea."
I'm gonna look so bad for the dentist. But for mine, it just started off being the pendant from Castle in the Sky.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like,
remember that.
I've been doing Ghibli portraits for several years. Or
I feel like we need to
posters.
like link to these so that people aren't like, yeah, that's.
well, they're all on your Instagram.
They're all on Instagram. Yeah, you
Okay,
can
that is
scroll
quite
through.
far back. People will have to scroll a long way to get.
I'll post a Tumblr link. I'll post a Tumblr
also,
link.
it's
for those.
the animation isn't an animation on my
Okay.
Instagram.
Well,
But
maybe
it's
we'll
okay.
do like a master post
Yeah.
once we have the Starforce blog. up
Just
and
be
running.
like,
Yeah.
at this time we talked about this. Here's the link.
just a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
just a massive post,
There's just a link
audio
dump
file,
Yep.
everywhere.
images, links.
You should
Big
do it that
block
it's
of
like
text.
it's like a description, and then there's like a little like you know how people will like build things out of letters in YouTube posts.
Oh,
like
yeah.
build a drawing of a poo, and then be like link dump, and then I have all the links.
Alright, if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm not taking that time to do that.
I'm sure you can copy and paste it from somewhere. I'm sure some other brilliant 15-year-old YouTuber has probably done
Yeah, probably more talented than I am, so there you are.
and making emoticons.
I don't have time to do that stuff anymore. I have to work. I have to do
Isn't that
job
sad?
things.
Because you've grown up.
I'm
and
an
Adult
I'm an adult.
responsibilities.
I have to file taxes. I don't have time to make emoticons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up too.
Yep.
Goddamn.
GST.
Yeah, just to put into context, this is like mid-February of
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, just to date this episode. Yeah, apologies for not posting the Star Wars episode sooner. Still not up, but it'll be up before this one. So that's something.
That's okay. You don't want to hear my opinion on Star Wars.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't need to hear it.
Alex already cried.
Naysayers.
Bitterly.
I didn't cry.
Yes, he did.
Cried a little
He
bit.
thought it was gonna be a single manly tear, but it was actually like a bunch.
They just floated around with
Yeah.
that watery mess in his eyes.
There were still single manly tears. There were just a lot of them. Whatever.
In fast succession.
Fast succession. Okay, well, yeah, we're not gonna get into Star Wars. It made its money. It's fine. It made
Oh,
$2
I'm
billion.
not debating that. That is, I mean,
1.96 billion, I think, or 1.
But think of the $4 million it missed out on because those angry white guys were losing.
I'm sure every angry white guy saw it.
Did you not hear about that? The guys who were like, we're gonna boycott Star Wars because there's a
Really?
black guy
I
in
didn't
it.
hear
Yeah.
about that.
There's
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and basically, who was it?
Well, was it because John Boyega is black? Is
Yeah,
that
it
why?
was like a super dumb racist
Oh,
reason. And
fuck
basically
that.
they're like, we're boycotting the Force Awakens. And everyone was like, oh, sure, okay, you can do that. And then, so I think they did the math and like, hypothetically, the amount of money that they would have made off of that demographic, this specific group of people who were like, we're boycotting it.
Yeah.
So it was $4 million, but I mean, when you have made several $1 billion
That's
off of a
pocket
movie,
change
you're
for
like,
Star
okay.
Wars.
Yeah, it's not like it broke them, that they're like, if only there wasn't a
Just
black guy.
cleans up
Yeah.
the fandom,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
let's,
Yeah,
I'm
you
down
know
for
what?
that.
There you go. So,
It's like when you post a social justice post on Tumblr and you're like, oh, I got unfollowed, cleaning out the garbage.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Not every follower is good. Not every follower is good.
Time to refill.
Yes.
We're drinking heavily right now. You can hear from that sound.
Or maybe
Like
somebody's
adults.
just weeing.
Give me your glass, Alex.
It's fruit punch. I'm not even drinking real stuff. We could be drinking water, guys. We could be healthy.
I don't know, Cambridge water.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So we're pretty spread out too. So
Yeah.
like I'm currently living in Hamilton. Alex is in Cambridge. And
Jen is in Brampton.
Yeah.
I mean Toronto. Sorry, what?
Toronto.
We're all in Toronto,
Yeah, no,
according
that's-
to everything that we ever post.
Okay, here's the
We're
thing.
all in far west Toronto.
I have told people that I live in Toronto and they don't know what it is. So like, for
Who?
me to like international people,
Mm.
and it's like, cause Toronto's like usually when I think of like Canadian cities that international people know, that's like one that I figure is pretty like known by people. But yeah, I've had people who say they don't know who Toronto is, where Toronto is.
Tirana.
Well,
Toronto.
it's funny because I
So-
was listening to or I was watching a Game Grumps episode the other day, and Ninja Sex Party and Tupperware Remix Party, who are Canadian, they're from Toronto.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
Tupperware Remix Party are
I didn't know.
Toronto. They went on tour,
Yeah.
and so Danny was in Canada for a little while, and it's really funny hearing him talk about Canada because like they don't know about like some cities, and they're like,
Okay.
like what are the big cities in Canada? Like there's Toronto,
Okay.
there's Ottawa, I think, and there's like Montreal, and that's like the big three. That's all they know, right? I mean, to be fair,
Yeah.
I
I would say that Vancouver would usually come up as well.
And Windsor.
I don't know, who knows?
yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Windsor. Sorry, Windsor.
Sorry, Windsor.
It's across the pond
Michigan.
from
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, those are
well,
the most Canadian U.S. people, are Michigan people.
yeah.
Yeah, I work with a lot of Americans.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting time. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, when I worked at my office job, that Alex also worked at the same company.
Oh,
We had we had a warehouse down in Ohio, and that's like
Delta.
Delta, Ohio. Yeah. So it's like we had a lot of contact with the American half down there.
Yeah, I specifically work with Californians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I feel like much more glamorous now that I'm like, yeah, my like American publisher out of Los Angeles. Sounds much fancier.
That's true. It does sound pretty
And then
schmaltzy.
Delta, Ohio. Sorry, Delta, Ohio. Probably like a lot of people are like, ooh, the
Yes.
Windsor people in Delta, Ohio.
Our extreme reach has penetrated Delta.
gonna
Ohio.
lose-
They're
Man.
displeased with our
Jen,
opinions of
you've
them.
screwed us. Like half of our following is from Windsor
In Delta,
and Delta,
The other-
Ohio. That's the other half of our following of STARCHIVES.
Yeah. We have great penetration across the board.
I feel like
Take that as you may.
I feel
Yeah,
like
we
that
do.
needs the like disclaimer of like not a good enough reason to use penetration.
That was not a good enough reason to use penetration. I apologize.
No.
Oh my god. So anyways, it's not like a secret that I live in Brampton. It's just I have people who don't know where Toronto is.
Yeah.
So if I say I'm from Brampton, Ontario, they're gonna be like,
and to
is
be
that
fair,
in Canada?
on most of your social media stuff, it does say Toronto-ish.
Ish, yes.
So I think that's enough to make people be like, what does she mean by that? And then you say,
And you're not being so
or maybe I
vague.
like live under a bridge in Toronto. So it's like the ish is on the
you
live.
are a troll, so there's that.
It's true.
Rent might be cheaper under a bridge
Yeah,
anyways. Jeez.
If you just don't have to if you don't get caught, you live under that bridge forever.
There are sometimes, like, I take the GO train along the Lakeshore West
Are you
line.
gonna tell me that you live under a bridge?
No. Well,
During the week.
Hamilton, really.
May as well
Basically
be
a
under a
Toronto
bridge.
bridge.
Yeah. There's two cities in Ontario which have sort of a weird reputation. And, it's Oshawa and
The dirty
The
schwa.
schwa.
the Dirty Schwa and Hamilton, which used to be a big
The
steel
hammer.
city.
Which
Yes,
used to be
yeah.
a big what?
There's still a bunch of steel mills there,
A
but
steel mill. I thought you said it used to be a big steroid city. I'm like, that's an interesting
no,
thing
they
to
have
be
a
known
problem
for.
with meth. That's
Oh.
different. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. There's an issue with meth.
Not really a steroid, kind of the opposite, actually.
To be fair, I don't live near any of those parts.
Oh, good.
Like I'm along the outskirts of Hamilton, But
And are you a Hamilton native, or are you?
no, I've lived. I lived in Pickering for a long time.
Okay.
And before that, I didn't live in Canada at all.
Oh, all right.
So.
And then you came back. You're like, where am I gonna live? Meth town. That seems.
Meth town. Yeah.
Myth City.
But rent is cheap,
That's like,
right? So.
Well, it's
'Cause
fucking
of all
like
the-
Mad Max
It's
Wasteland. It
Hamilton.
sounds like.
Witness.
The way people drive, yes,
They're
definitely.
just spraying chrome on their mouths as they're driving around. What a day!
What a lovely day.
Yeah.
It sounds very dangerous.
Don't drive in Hamilton.
Don't drive in Brampton either, for that matter. Brampton's a fucking bunch of crazy people.
Anything like west of Toronto
Any
is.
tons.
Yeah,
Hamilton.
actually anywhere. Just stay off the roads. Just stay off
Anywhere,
the
just
roads.
don't drive.
Yeah,
Never.
driving's bad. It's bad
To be
for you.
fair, I'll give some kudos. Brampton's transit system has gotten a lot better
Has it?
since
That's
high
good.
school. Yeah. So.
Oh, well, yeah, we used to bus to work
Yeah.
for a while.
What was that, like 2 years ago? I'm kidding. I'm
a little
kidding.
bit. I am almost 10 years out of high school.
Yeah,
Can you believe that?
Jen's only, what, 19?
You know, the blood of innocence.
Yeah,
It's all the blood sacrifices.
you're older than me, actually.
I am.
By 3 months.
I am.
So there you
I'm
are.
an older one.
3 months.
Well, I'm married to your sister, and she's a couple years older than me. So
She's
there you
older.
go.
No, she's my age, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh my god, Hunad, you made it sound like you were so much older.
I'm married to
I thought you were
Hunad.
gonna be like, I'm 35.
Hunad,
have a Batman
Hunad and I
voice or
are Hunad and I are married.
Yeah.
He's my husband.
Well, technically that's legal.
It's a gay interracial arrangement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an arranged marriage.
We arranged it.
We arranged it.
So that
The
technically kind of counts.
I feel like our conversation has gone into an
I feel like
odd
people don't
place.
believe it's fruit juice anymore. If they believed it at the beginning.
It may be spiked with something. No, it's not. It's really not. We're just kind of crazy people. Well, I mean, Hunad's running on 4 hours sleep.
Actually, I got plenty of sleep last night. It was the weekend.
I got
so-
5 hours
Then
last
it's
night.
only
thank you.
me. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep.
So maybe it's all just you.
Maybe this is
Okay.
all a dream.
Whoa.
Did you think of that?
Well, I mean,
Do you have your what is it? Your totem?
my totem.
It's been,
Uh-oh.
oh, it's your ring, isn't it?
It is my ring.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on. If you hear the ring drop, then we're fine. Yeah, we're good.
Oh.
If it passed through the table, we'd be screwed. Yeah,
feel
Jen,
like-
Jen just turned on the light, and now we're a little
Sorry,
blind.
the sweat vampire is kind of.
Yeah,
Just
now you can
uncomfortable.
see all the beads, just the microbursts.
Hunad's gonna die pretty soon.
Hunad, you should draw a new profile picture over yours.
Yeah, do it.
Everyone will be like, what the fuck? Hunad?
I actually don't perspire very much. It might
For the listeners
for the
and
listeners,
for the record.
yeah,
Or the
it might just be the fact that I don't move at all.
That helps.
And I stay in the dark like
Just
90%.
get cold sweats in this guy.
No, I exist in darkness at all times. The studio that I work in has blackout windows.
Who are
so
you, Kylo Ren?
Oh god.
I might be turning Sith. Yeah.
exist in darkness.
It said that it was Alex who took the comics and was like, oh god, I'll finish what you started.
It was a time thing as well.
I'm
Like,
just looking at your face.
Like you're
a
just
picture
holding him
of-
in front of you. He's like,
What are you doing?
Stop mushing it, okay?
oh god.
Yeah.
I have felt an
Oh
awakening.
man. I feel like we should offer more words of wisdom for coming.
More words of wisdom for upcoming illustrators.
Make comics. It's good for you.
If you made it past
Just
our...
make art. Even if you're shit at it, do it. Because here's the thing.
No, you said, even if your art is shit, do it.
Even if you're shit at it, do it.
Let your hate. What is
Let your hate flow into your art. Yes. Do it.
Gross.
That's what I think.
Well,
whenever
I mean, what do you call it when Palpatine has made some art?
He drew it.
Oh no.
We're not going to go down that road. Too many puns.
It's too long.
But for some serious words of wisdom, because I've gone back to my old high school a couple times at the request of some old teachers who I'm friends with, and I try to offer a realistic kind of perspective on how much school is going to help,
Yeah.
which honestly it depends.
Fuck school. Drop out of high school.
No, not
Well,
Don't
finish
drop out
high
of high
school. Finish high school. at
finish
least.
high school. It's completely up to you if you go to college. For me, I had an excellent experience. I was very lucky in that most of most of the financial
Hardships.
hardships were.
I mean, weren't they?
They weren't there because I worked really hard in high school. I got some scholarships, and it helped a lot. Let's say I didn't have to work at a grocery store nearly as much as I probably would have. In any case, I understand that for a lot of people, there's a large question of how much debt am I going to be in afterwards, and that really sucks because I think if you have the opportunity to go, I would say go. Because at the very least, you're gonna find out some stuff about yourself.
And you'll make some friends.
Would you like a short opinion on college for me?
And that's the thing too is I would never have met Hunad were it not for going to Sheridan.
You could have met someone else. Maybe you would have had another Hunad friend that you have now missed out on.
No.
You always have Arif.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that was.
I'm sorry, Arif, if you're listening. That's true. No, Arif, we're gonna bring you on this show too at some point.
It makes it sound like Arif. Just you're next star.
There's a bunch of people that we want to.
There's so many people we want to force to be on.
Yeah.
As uncomfortable as it might make them.
We want to bring everybody on this show. Everybody. My wife's gonna be on the show at some point.
What is she going to talk about?
I don't know.
Taking care of a
Whatever
giant
she
man,
wants.
baby.
There you go.
Oh, I was
She
gonna
take-
say
she-
talking about
she
like
does
some
take-
video game stuff, but I guess she could talk about taking care of
Well,
We're gonna talk about Alex for. It's just gonna be me and her talking about Alex.
chances are we'll be talking about
like Skyrim. Fallout.
either Bethesda or BioWare because she likes both of those companies, which I know we addressed in the last episode. But we'll go into major detail with her with that stuff.
She's just gonna be like, I really like all the character customization, but I couldn't make my stuff look hard enough. And it's just like my character wasn't hard.
Who thinks it is hard?
That's generally just because that. To be fair, that's my opinion on most character customization too.
True enough.
Who thinks this is hot?
Mine is usually why are there not more beards?
Why is there not more long
There
hairstyles?
needs to be more beards.
It needs to be on a slider so you can adjust the
Yeah.
length of it and stuff as well.
Exactly.
You have like a reverse beard. If you like toggle it too far up, it goes like up into your.
It goes into your head.
Mohawks.
Well, all right. Sorry, I was gonna give my opinion on secondary.
school, yeah. Well, it's good to have different opinions. for sure.
I didn't go to Sheridan.
No.
I went to Seneca, and I went to their independent illustration program. And I feel like it was a brand new program when I went.
Yeah.
It was like we were, I think, the second class to do it. So it's been a few years now, and I'm pretty sure they've probably adapted it as they've gone and made changes.
Sorry to interrupt you for a sec. Just to give some clarification to people who don't know, the Seneca illustration program, second class, right? Like second year.
It's kind of like X-Men, except
second
it's second
class.
class.
Second class.
We're talking about social paradigms now.
But
Well, okay. Like the
the-
second group of children, I guess we weren't children,
The-
second group of young adults to go through the program.
yeah, the Trafalgar campus of Sheridan in Oakville, they've been doing their illustration program
For
since
years.
like the 80s.
It's
I
been
think.
decades.
It's been a long
So
time.
it's a very well established
Yeah,
program.
it's just recently become a bachelor's program where you actually get a degree from it, and it's 4 years. It used to be 3.
And by recently, like 10 years.
10, yeah. So, but
10 years ago.
so we're talking about a really like
brand new.
well-established program that's been like it's been tried.
Yeah.
You know, they've had a lot of success with it, and then sorry I'm not trying to sound like I'm poo-pooing it or anything, but
Well, and
My
the
program is the best program.
well,
How
it's
dare
just
you?
more
Well,
of
when
an
you-
old versus new kind of thing,
well,
right?
and
Yeah.
I mean, most people when you think of like Canadian art schools,
Yeah.
Sheridan was like the first one for illustration
Sure.
and animation. Seneca actually has a really good animation program.
Mm-hmm.
I know that a lot of the animation kids actually in my year got like work like right out, and they've
Yeah,
been
that's
pretty
good.
steadily working since then. With the illustration program, I feel like for me, I think Art Fundies was helpful because I was lacking a lot of basics at
Right.
that point in time, and that was really what I needed to build on. But the actual illustration program, there was a lot of stuff where it didn't like mesh with my learning style super well.
Right.
I'm also not good at doing 8 different projects at once,
Ah,
so that didn't work out super well either. And then the second year was super open-ended.
right.
So like they were basically like 8-month-long projects of just like do whatever you want, and you have 8 of these, and I'm like I could do this at home for free.
So
It was
how long was the program, like in terms of years or
I did
semesters?
Art Fundies was 1 year, so 2 semesters,
Okay.
and then the independent illustration is 2 years. It's like a fast track course.
Okay.
But it is nice because it has a business course. Needless to say, basically what I kind of feel like benefits you if you choose to go to post-secondary. The biggest thing is for art is learning the basics. Like if you really need to get that foundation down, which
Yep.
is important, even if you decide to go off into a less realistic style, it is important to develop that. However, you can do that not at school as well if you don't have the money or if you just don't want to fucking go.
Or life drawing classes exist, and instead of paying
like the
upwards of $5 to $7 grand a year.
I know there's a place in Brampton that it's like $10.
Yep,
we're
gonna plug them to Visual Arts Brampton. Keith Morrow is the guy who runs the place, and they do life drawing I think every week or a couple times a week.
They do it a couple times a week.
And it's like $10 per session. You go for a few hours and
and there's even a lot of online sites you can use now for life drawing, that do time things.
Yeah, but it's still it's not the same.
I know it's different.
Like because I'm in Toronto most of the time. I go to OCAD.
Well, and also
there's Tunes on Tap, and there's a bunch of other things that happen, but the most consistent one and the cheapest one is OCAD. Everywhere else is like, a little bit more. And the timings work well for, when I get there, when I can leave. Mm-hmm. So I get a couple hours of life drawing in every week. And it's made a huge difference since not doing life drawing for a couple of years after leaving Sheridan.
Yeah. And this is definitely a thing, too, that if... for our listeners who are interested in learning how to draw, or they're learning to draw now and they want a little bit of advice, life drawing is the most important thing to your skill set. It's
and it's not even being
across the board.
It's developing your anatomy skills, which is one thing, but it's also being able to for me it didn't really click when I was doing it in school, but my hand-eye coordination, just being able to look at something and draw it and properly
recreate it.
That's a super important skill to have for anything, because I know that some young people will think, oh, I'm not allowed to use reference for anything.
No, opposite.
And it's use a reference for everything, because if you know what something structurally looks like and what it looks like around and in a 3D space, then it's going to help you so much more than just being that's cheating. And it's I guess it's cheating if you are trying to understand how something looks.
It's a common misconception where it's basically you have to divide it between, are you using something as reference, or are you just
copying it?
Just completely copying it, like carbon copy. Even if you trace, even if you take a stock photo and let's say, because I have done this before where I've needed to see a hand from a certain angle, I will actually just trace the hand to kind of get an idea of how how the shape's going to be, and then I redraw it freehand. Just in my own style to make sure it looks right. And especially with hands, I've gotten this question a lot. Actually, I remember a specific question I got at one of my talks was, I asked people, or they asked me, if I'm not good at drawing something, do I
don't draw it?
Do I just not draw it, or do I try to learn how? And I'm like, well, what are you not good at drawing? And the person said hands, and I'm like, no, you need to learn how to draw.
And especially with something like hands is I know, and this
hands are the best and the worst.
When I was in high school, I know I went through my anime stage. Actually, it was more specifically manga.
What is this anime and manga you speak of?
You're does the stage end? For me, it was not forever. But I know it's a lot of people will look at art in books and they'll draw trying to reproduce somebody else's style.
Right.
And what they don't understand is even if the art is solid, that person has good fundamentals that they're building on.
Yep.
As opposed to and I mean, looking back at some of the manga that my friends read, it's not good.
Oh,
a lot of it's not good. Don't copy it.
I drew a lot of Inuyasha fan art when I was 14.
Well, and even superhero comics, from the 90s and stuff like that, there's a lot of foot hiding and hands, stuff being obscured by giant capes, and it's I get that it's easier to draw, but
look no further than Rob Liefeld.
Or
who will be, I think, at Toronto Comic Con or Fan Expo this year. Hey man, look, say what you want. This is a person who's made a huge and long-standing career out of maybe not being the best artist, but it's
regardless of how we feel about his style.
Set your bar a little higher than Rob Liefeld if you want to do comics. You can do it. You can do better.
To be fair, there's a lot of people that get away with significantly less. If you look at the Scott Pilgrim series, it's not artistically, if you look, it's not the most representational.
Well, but I would disagree, because with that's got no, it's O'Malley.
Brian Lee
There we
O'Malley.
go. Sorry, that was bothering me. Whereas he I feel like he is somebody who kids would maybe read the comic and try to draw like him. But what they don't see is that even though he has a very stylized way of doing characters, you can still see that the structure is there.
Yeah, he
It's
draws
like
everything.
he just simplifies everything. And it's the same, like his
it's
backgrounds are
informed.
really nice as well.
In case it's not getting across, you need to know how to draw something realistically before you can then stylize it and make it into basically a caricature.
Learn the rules before you
break
break
them.
the rules.
Exactly.
I feel like
It's a good
I've had
line.
like a lot of like professors actually say that.
Yeah.
But that's because that's why I'm saying it, because that's what they told me.
But it's
Learn to do
true.
it first.
You need to learn
Yeah.
the game before you can play it and then cheat.
Well, and especially like talking about like hands. Like I know a lot of people who are really good at sorry, not in like my direct group, but like looking at people's art.
Yeah.
But it's like you'll see some of their stuff, and you're like, whoa, their faces are like, there you have such a good stylist, so nicely done. And then when they have to do something that's like full body, or you see it starts getting wonky because all they do is draw faces. And I used to do that that was me when I was younger. But it's like, especially if you want to do comics or books or any illustration that's going to require storytelling.
Yep,
Honestly, hands are such a big storytelling element
they are.
that if you can't draw them, it's like you never put a hand in a panel if it's not doing something that's showing you something that's happening in the script. Like it's, you don't put an ugly hand in it. You need to know how to draw it. So
Well, 'cause
if you don't know how to draw hands, draw 100 hands.
And
That's what you gotta do.
Draw 1,000 hands. Just draw hands
Go.
all the time.
Go for
yeah,
like
well, that's why there's a specific part in life drawing where they say, okay, now we're going to dedicate an hour to hand studies. Like, you can draw an entire body all day, but if you can't draw every pose with hands behind the
Yeah.
person's back, or conveniently behind like the head or like a bush or something. Got my hand in this bush.
and then he pulls it out. It's just like covered in bees.
Ah!
Still don't have to draw it.
See, still don't have to draw fingers.
And he's standing in tall grass, so you can't see his feet.
There you go. Yeah,
That's the shortcut.
Pretty sure
See,
Rob Liefeld
that's
said
cheating. That's drawing cheating.
yeah. That's when I will call you out.
Like specifically, he'll call
Yeah.
you on the phone and be like,
Yeah.
I saw this drawing of a man with some bees on his head and he's standing in really long grass. What is this?
That's his superpower. It's bees, man.
Man, every drawing I do from now on is gonna be that guy. Never gonna draw
This
hands
is a
again.
really tragic story. He thinks he's gonna get the bees off and then the bees just come back.
not the bees. Anything but the bees.
It's also Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
That's another thing I found, going back to when I started finding Molly and I had submitted, I basically submitted, my comic samples were the things that I had done up for my submission that I did for the Oath Anthology, which is our queer superhero collection of
Princess
comics.
Cappuccino.
Yeah, and so I had done up a couple of pages for that submission.
Okay.
So I had done the script, page layout, and like I basically did all the like groundwork for this comic in about 2 weeks. So I ended up, once I got accepted for it, I went back and I reworked some stuff.
Right.
But so basically I had a couple of pages that I had done to send with my submission because I didn't have any comic stuff in my portfolio.
Sure.
And that was what I sent for Finding Molly.
Yeah.
And my backgrounds, because that's another thing that people don't like to draw.
Yeah.
Especially, it's like for me, I really like drawing characters. A lot of people really like drawing people, and I get that. That's cool.
I'm in that camp as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, one of the things that the editor said to me before I like took on the job, she was like, okay, well, this is gonna be happening. This is like in Los Angeles.
Right.
This is really urban. We really want to have a lot of backgrounds. And I'm like, I'll do that. Like, okay, being not very good at drawing backgrounds. And I mean, I realize this is like talking, so I can't show you. But like, if I could hold up like example of a background I did almost a year ago versus what I'm doing now.
We'll see if we can get we'll see if we can link to a comparison picture.
But it's just like
Another link to the link dump.
But just like looking at that, I mean, it's kind of funny because even though backgrounds still take a while for me to do, like they're time consuming.
Yeah.
I found a way of doing them that it's like I don't hate doing them. Like I actually find them really enjoyable now.
That's good.
And just like I feel like even that is like a huge accomplishment for me to be at a point where it's like something I used to hate and I avoid it all the time. I'm like I actually really like doing this now.
That is that's actually how I feel about and this is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna explain it. Drawing women specifically has always been it's been a challenge for me. Just I never used to draw them at all because I guess I would get embarrassed and stuff. You know, I was a timid kid.
Yeah.
And the thing was, I was friends with a lot of I was friends with a lot of guys who, especially in high school, they didn't seem to get where I was coming from in terms of art. So
You drew a lot of like Spawn though back then, like that's not even.
yeah, I drew a lot of Batman and Spawn and stuff, and that type of thing. People like the people
So
I
much
hung
has
out with.
So macho.
They would just be like, "Oh man, that's so cool. That's so badass." But if I tried to draw a lady, they'd be like, "Nice boobs, man," and I just didn't like that because you know that's it embarrassed me. And looking back on that, it's kind of like
Fucking rude.
yeah, it's really rude, and it's also like I guess it was when you draw a character or when you draw anything, you're putting a little bit of yourself into it. So
That's why Alex just
You know-
draws like so many bearded ladies all the
Exactly.
time. And I'm
So-
like, Alex, first the bee guy, now the bearded lady.
now the the bee guy and the bearded lady are gonna have a kid. I think.
OTP.
Yeah,
It's like a tiny little Spawn.
yeah. He's
With
gonna
the
have
Batman
he's
cape?
gonna have a sweet cape.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you draw a character, you put a whether it looks like it or not, you do put a bit of yourself into it. So when someone says something rude or negative like that, just kind of out of like
Well,
not
they
nice.
are giving you not constructive criticism.
And basically, it's kind of a lesser equivalent of kind of like catcalling in a way, which
Is that fun?
no, it's not at all. And if I can get a little, not political, I guess, but
Why do you have to be so
Such an activist.
yeah, I
Such a-
know,
what is it?
slacktivist.
Such a-
That's what I am.
such an SJW, Alex?
But you know, like it doesn't feel good when a person belittles your characters like that. So I can't imagine how it must feel to women just walking around on the street and people, oh hey, nice tits, and I'm like that. It's not nice, and
Well,
it's
that was not very nice.
no, it's incredibly rude. So, in a very, very small way, I feel like I know a little bit more about that, and that was a personal struggle for me to get past. To the point where I've been drawing women consistently for about a year and a half now, and I feel very comfortable with it.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing with like drawing anything you don't like. There's gonna be growing pains.
Oh yeah.
But then it's like you're gonna get to a point where it's like basically, let's say you're working on something for a year, you're gonna have like 11 months where it sucks, and you're like, I still hate this. And then like in the 12 months, it's just like you realize that you know what you're doing now, and it's not hard. And like
Eventually,
you
it
have
will
a
click.
process, yeah,
It
and
will click into place, and it feels great. When it
yeah,
does.
so it just kind of fits in with everything else that you're doing.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're doing something that's not necessarily your own version, right? Like when someone's like, you need to do this, you need to do more backgrounds, and you don't do a lot of backgrounds.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you look at how other people do their backgrounds,
Yep.
and you look at a bunch of reference. But and then you'll try to take that information and then
Yeah.
just stuff it into the page until it kind of
Well,
makes sense.
and honestly, like backgrounds is something that I find specifically is a really super varied in comics.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people who it's like they can get so much information while still keeping it really simple, and then sometimes people put a lot of information and it's cluttering. And I know, even though I feel like structurally my environment drawings have gotten a lot better, I'm still kind of trying to find what is the kind of medium point for
Yeah.
it.
Like, what's your kind of personal voice
Yeah.
when it comes to background?
It's also balancing the background with your foreground elements too, right? You don't want it to
Yeah.
overpower, unless there's something happening in the background which is more relevant than what's happening in the foreground.
Well, and then it sucks because it's like I work digitally for 95% of my work.
Yep.
So it's like I'll go and I'll do like the background on like layers, and then I like have it all together, and I'm like, that looks pretty good, and then I'll draw the character and I erase like 80% of the background. I'm like, god damn it. 2 hours gone.
Well, Jen,
But-
that's why people do roughs.
I do refs.
They do.
I'm not so
Maturity. To be fair, I'm pretty.
You are 2 years
notorious.
older than me.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, just kind of going back to Alex's comment about drawing women. I obviously have a little bit of a different viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
Because on one
Of
hand, being a woman myself, sometimes, usually, it's, I've always, like, it's another thing that I haven't done until, like, the last year or so is, like, really getting comfortable drawing guys. So it's, like, obviously a lot of my work is drawing girls. And it's fortunate because my work has a very, like, feminine edge to it, is that it's kind of automatically appealed to girls more than guys.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had to deal with a lot of dudes for most of my art career, like, when I was younger. Or career.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
It counts. Everything is experience.
It accumulates. Well, but it's, like, in the last couple of years, like, I kind of found a niche a couple of years ago, like, 2011, 2012 kind of thing, doing kind of more diverse body positive work. And so that means drawing a lot of not thin white people, which mainstream media seems to really like. But basically, you know, I found that drawing like curvier women and stuff like that, there was really an audience for it because there were so many people who were suddenly coming to me and being like, oh, I love your work, like getting portraits done and stuff like that, because these are people who weren't being represented in their comics or in their books and their TV shows, and to just see them being presented not as a punchline was a huge deal for them. And so I'm like, yeah, I can draw this. People really like it. It like makes people feel good about themselves. Why wouldn't I want to draw it? But then the kind of other side of the coin is, you know, you have the women who feel empowered by seeing this art, and that's amazing because that's what I'm trying to do. And then the other side of the coin is the kind of BBW guys.
Oh.
And it's like, I don't really identify with that. Like, I don't tag my work BBW or anything like that, because even though I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for women to find it, this is not usually a woman-friendly tag. Like,
Well, no,
I've seen...
It's usually denoted more with like a
It's
kind
like
of
it's a fetish, yeah. And so it's like I've had a lot of, like, my work has kind of slipped into that sort of thing.
Right.
Not for me producing it, but for people viewing it and sharing it.
Well, you have no control over
exactly.
what your work does after you've sort of put it out there in the world, right?
Especially on Tumblr when they will reblog stuff with different tags, right?
Yeah, or reshare without even tagging.
Right.
But so it's just like, I mean, that whole thing of, I feel like that was really my first foray into seeing my work very objectified and not having control over how that was happening. Because, you know, again, it's like I'm doing it in a way, and part of my thing is that I don't fetishize people when I draw them. No matter what they look like, it's always a thing of I want to make them look... It's like they went to a photo shoot that they're really pumped to do.
Yeah.
So it's like there's an element of fun to it, and like they're really consenting to be there. Because that's a big part of it that I feel like a lot of... and I mean, as we have more women getting into mainstream comics, we're kind of starting to go away from that. But I mean, it's like you look at like New Millennium or like 90s comics, and like all of the like superheroine poses.
Oh my goodness.
Like all the TNA poses and stuff like that, where it's like nobody would actually do that. That's not how like a woman does things.
Well, there's a good. I think you linked it to me. There's a good
the video.
Was it BuzzFeed?
Yeah, I think so.
There was a BuzzFeed video where they had women of various shapes and sizes try to recreate these crazy poses in real life, and some of the photos look really cool, and some of them look really weird.
Awkward, yeah.
And
not because of
the women,
just-
but because of the pose they were
yeah.
trying to make. And that's the unfortunate thing too, is for a while, and I think it's still kind of there, is people got used to it and they were like, this is just how it's done.
Well, and again, for younger people who are trying to get into the industry, if they see that that's what people are making money with, they're going to try and draw that, as opposed to being like, I'm going to take a life drawing class.
And you know what? I'm no different. I remember in high school when I was trying to learn how to draw musculature and stuff, a lot of it was involved in just, you know, how to draw, you know, those books where it's like, how to draw comic characters.
Christopher Hart.
Christopher Hart, you lovely man.
The worst manga drawer ever.
Oh, goodness. But, you know, I mean, to its credit, it did give me an exaggerated, like, idea of what muscles go where and of how, you know, at least a male body was structured. So,
but there's growth there. Like, you grew as an artist and you figured out that, okay, this is maybe not
accurate.
This doesn't work for me, and this doesn't work for what I want to say about my work.
Sure.
Right?
And that's all a part of growing as an artist is... Thank you. That's a big part of growing as an artist is, and this is something that we've been taught at Sheridan multiple times, I think, is when you're a creative person and you're growing as a creative person, you steal stuff from different artists, from different sources. You take the stuff that you want to keep, and then you throw everything else in the garbage, and that kind of informs.
Well, and that's like
what
developing your
you
style.
do.
Though,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly what it is.
Again, it's not cheating, people.
No,
Just
and
a little disclaimer there.
and I just want to, for the record, fuck people who are like, you have to be original to be an artist, and I'm like, well, there hasn't been an original idea in centuries, so there you go. So there's that.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an original idea in a long time.
No.
Well, and I feel like that's a lot more of a fine art kind of concept or mentality about the work, because I mean we all obviously went through like illustration, which doesn't have to be commercial, but generally the idea is that you want to
The
get
idea
commercial
that
work.
you're wanting to mass produce your work
yeah.
because you want to make a living, and fine arts is
Well,
really
and
hard.
you enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
And here's another thing too, is that I've had people ask me, what's the difference between selling your work and selling out? And here's the difference right here. When you sell your work, you're not selling your soul. You're not giving up your rights. You're not giving up your ownership or your authorship. You're not doing something because it will make you money. You're doing something that you love, and as a byproduct of that, you are making money from it.
Well, I mean, what's
There's
the
a fine
three
line.
that you do?
Yeah.
Either you get good pay,
Good pay,
Good
exposure,
exposure,
and
or
it's
it's
going to
something
be
you
fun.
love. Yeah.
You need money, exposure, and fun. If you get 2 out of 3 of those things,
you should
then
take the job.
Take the job. If you only get 1,
Probably don't.
maybe not.
And if you get all 3, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You should definitely do the
And
job.
if you get none of them, then what the fuck are you doing? Like, if you're not going to get paid, no exposure, and
it's
you're
not
going to
fun.
hate it, then it sounds like...
Exposure is kind of a weak one, though. Like, to be honest,
Yeah.
that's one of those things where everyone's like, we can't pay you, but, you'll get exposure.
Well, and that's something
Also,
that
exposure is something you can die from, so...
exposure can also be illegal if you do.
Yeah.
Really dangly.
that too.
You're not like,
I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, don't publicly
well-
expose yourself.
rule of thumb. Oh, yeah. Well, and I mean, with exposure, I mean, that's kind of a hard one because, on one hand, if you have a big publishing company that comes to you and says it's going to be fun and you'll get lots of exposure, but it's not like an internship or something, then it's like, if a company has money to pay for stuff and like a lot of other stuff, then that's like, obviously they can pay you. That wouldn't be really fair. But if you're doing something, for example, like this year, one of my, I don't do resolutions because that sounds like they're setting up to fail, but one of my things that I want to try and do this year is participate in more anthologies and zines.
Okay.
And so a lot of the anthologies are through Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So there is a good chance of being paid.
Right.
But for a lot of the zines, it's like their fan art, their one-page illustrations. You retain the credit to them. It's a networking opportunity.
Yeah.
And so for something like that, that would be an example, I think, of fun and exposure.
It's very niche, though.
But
too,
it's
right?
like, but that's also, it's usually like other fans who are doing it.
Yeah.
Or doing stuff...
Nobody's making money off of it.
Or doing stuff for charity.
Yeah.
Or things like that.
Yeah, then that's fine. Like, if there's
Yeah.
money on the table, and
Yeah.
they're like,
You don't get
no, and,
Yeah,
we can't pay you because
Yeah.
expletive reason why, and
Don't be afraid to ask for money. Like that's a big thing that young artists don't do, is that they'll leave a lot of money on the table simply because they're not like
Yeah.
they don't know what they're worth.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I mean, that's kind of a part of your learning curve when you first start getting into work seriously. Because, I mean, when you go, ideally, you're going to be like, you'll ask the person, you'll be like, what are you willing to pay? And they'll give you their budget. And they're like, awesome, that sounds great. But usually people will be like, you'll be like, what's your budget? And they're like, well, what do you charge? And it's like, I asked you,
and
I asked
question
you
for a
first.
question, yeah.
So that's shitty.
Yeah.
But that's why you kind of have to be able to, I mean, there's so many like resources online where you can go and kind of be like, what is the average pay for a 24 full color, full page illustration children's book?
yeah, and I mean, you can use that as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
But here's kind of a decent, hesitate to call it a formula, but basically think about how long it's going to take you.
Yeah.
And then divide it by minimum wage.
Oh God. Yeah.
And see how much money, or multiply that by a minimum wage. See how much money it is, and then maybe double that, and that's your going rate. Because no artist should be fucking working for $12 an hour or anything like that.
Well, and especially if you're working with a bigger company.
Yeah, it depends on the client. If you're doing a personal commission for somebody and you know it's going to take you maybe a couple hours, you know, they're not going to use it for anything other than they just want to have it. Then, you know, maybe you give them a little discount or something like that. But if it's a big publishing company and
they can afford to
like,
pay you.
we can afford to pay you, but we just don't really feel like it. There's a lot of exposure, though. I'll tell you what. That exposure.
I'll tell you what.
That exposure, all that does is exposes you as an artist who's willing to work for next to nothing.
Yeah, well, and I
Sets
mean,
a bad
I've
precedent
gotten
for the,
people who it's
industry.
like, a lot of time being somebody on like Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like I get more. I feel like it's like mostly on Instagram compared to any of the other platforms I'm on. But I get like messages from people all the time being like, "Do you take requests? Will you draw me?" And I'm like, "No."
Will you draw minions for my kid?
God damn. It's like
That was the best.
because I've had like people say that who it's like, "Oh, you know, if you like do this drawing for me, I'll share it with my followers." 200 followers. Okay.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, and I'm like, or you could pay me if you want like a bust portrait, pay me $30 and I can get money out of it. Like, it's not, my prices aren't even that unreasonable, but it's just like that whole thing of being like, I've had people who aren't even companies who are like, it'll be good for exposure, and I'm like,
Well, because
like,
that's what
Classy.
that's what everybody's used to.
yeah, it's like, what, you're gonna expose me to your network of people who think I give free portraits? Like,
Yeah. Well,
that's amazing. That's exactly what I'm trying to promote myself as.
exactly.
Yeah, and it just comes down to like if it's fun or not, right? Like if you're trying to suck up to somebody, then it makes sense to do it.
I did that.
Not that I
Just
did that
recently.
ever.
Well,
Never.
Here's a good example of what I did just recently. An artist who fucking love at Stafari. I did a portrait of her recently, and it took a few months to do because all I would do is just I would work on it at work, right?
Oh.
Like I worked
Like
on
lunch
it
break thing?
in my sketchbook for like 10 minutes at a time. That's why
Oh,
it
wow.
took so long to do.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun because, you know, I'm at work, then I go on lunch break. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I look forward to working on that for a few minutes.
Mhm.
And then over the course of the months, I got it done.
Yeah.
And now I have a cool portrait that I have
Yeah.
to show for it. Didn't
Well-
get any money for it, but when I shared it with her, she loved it. She reposted it. I got a little bump in my follower count.
Mhm.
And that's another.
Well, but that's like strategic promotion.
Yes.
That's why I'm so good.
See
at
that
what I do. Apparently.
that fulfilled two of the requirements. It was
Fun
fun
and
and exposure. So there you go. No money, but I was gonna do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was gonna be drawing something anyway. It may as well help me out, right?
Exactly. Well, and that's definitely the kind of mindset I've had. Like when I was slower on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was like, well, what can I do? Because like right away, well, not right away. I was on Instagram for maybe like a year or two before I really got any traction.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Who knows? You guys are like, yeah, whatever, 2 years.
Whatever, man.
Well, I've been on it for a year now.
Oh, okay. But basically, I was like, I noticed that people like drawings of themselves, and people seem to like my fashion portraits. So I started to try and look at people who liked getting art done of them, who I like their fashion sense of. I like their hair and makeup or whatever. Like, they look like they'd be fun to draw as a character anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I also checked, because this is an important part, do they share fan art made of them? Because if they don't share it,
Don't do it.
It's
Yeah.
wasting your time. Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a waste of time, because if you still have fun, it's cool. And it's still nice to do something for somebody
But
that
you do have to be strategic
Yes.
with your time management. Like,
Exactly,
You
yeah.
don't want to spend all this time on like a
drawing.
like a
Well,
celebrity
if you had
who's almost
spent-
never on
If
Instagram.
you spent
right?
6 months on a drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
that would
Thanks.
Now just to get Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and
Oh my God, dude.
them to
I
share
don't,
that with their
I'm not
people.
sure Carrie Fisher knows what a computer is.
Aw.
I love her to death, but have you seen any like publicity videos of her? She's
Isn't she on Twitter?
yes, she is. She responded to the comments being made about her weight and stuff, and that wasn't nice.
Yeah.
No, I just remember seeing her talk about Star Wars at the Star Wars celebration, and she like had brought her dog with her,
Oh.
and I mean that's cute, but she like had the dog on its own seat on the stage, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? I mean, Mark Hamill's adorable.
I
fucking
feel like
love him.
bringing a dog and giving it its own seat does not automatically mean she doesn't know how to use
And
computers.
then she started talking,
Oh.
and I was like, "This is not the Carrie Fisher I remember. This is a very like eccentric woman." But hey,
Oh.
you know what? You do you, Carrie Fisher. You're amazing.
If
in
I
my
had
book, so.
a cat who would go and sit with me on stage, I would get them a fucking chair and bring them with me.
Piggy might sit.
I was gonna say Barney when they do
No, Barney would attack people.
that.
Thanks, Theo.
Defending Barney's honor.
How we doing on time?
You'd only attack like 10 people.
We're doing pretty good on time. You got anything else you wanna talk about, Jen? Before we let you go.
How much Force Awakens sucks.
Trigger warning. All right.
Alex is like, I just came here to have a good time. I'm feeling really attacked right now.
No more Star Wars talk. Star Wars is done.
Star Wars is done until next year when Rogue Squadron comes out. Yeah, that'll be good. Thanks so much for showing up again for episode 2, guys. STARCHIVES is going strong. We're gonna be we'll come at you with episode 3 in a little while. I'm Alex Rodway at Alexander Rodway on Twitter, at Lord_Lexon on Instagram.
You should make your usernames match, like I did.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that. Nod.
This is Hanan, and you can follow me at Illustratorium. And we'd like to thank Jen for coming on to our show.
Thank you. Special guest on the 2nd episode.
Yeah, boy.
What?
Of course,
Coming
I'm
out
the special
all the way from Brampton.
from B-Town. I'm the special guest on episode number 2.
Number 2.
The number 2.
Yeah.
We
We
doo-doo.
you know, we thought of that.
It was my duty. I had to come out
on.
and do
It was your duty.
it.
You can follow Jen at princess_gem4.
And that's Gem with a J.
Gem with a J.
Sorry, I'm
As
like
in-
so used to that being the spelling.
As in Gem in the holograms.
As in truly outrageous.
You can find Finding Molly from Emmett Comics
.com.
online, emmettcomics.com. Princess Cappuccino will be coming out eventually.
As part of the Oath Anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Kickstarter.
Fall
that got,
2016, I think.
it's supposed to be coming out in spring 2016.
So we'll see.
We don't have a 100% solid date on that yet, but obviously when I do, I will be posting on my Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, so
And
check
your
those out.
Instagram, or your Twitter.
My Twitter and Instagram are both the same.
Yeah.
Same.
So that
So
people can easily find me.
I had to specify. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Well, you can find all of us just by typing in our names and either art or illustration as a keyword.
Or butts.
Or butts. We'll bring up Jen for sure. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Cool.
Bye.